I do not stand by in the presence of evil.
Oh yeah, hello everybody, good evening. It's a little late. I don't mind. I hope you don't. Tism Skism is anything but reliable. It bounces around all the time. It is my unofficial way of just burging out on the world. And tonight I'm just feeling it. It's a little late, yeah. But it's 10 o'clock somewhere, so I'll share the StreamYard link just because it's no fun without anybody. I don't know if anybody's going to show up. I think Diana may be observing from the living room. No long intro tonight. I'm finding that, coming up with new clips is getting difficult. A lot of people just haven't really got things going on, or perhaps they don't know about us being willing to advertise their campaigns for free. Either way, it's not been happening. Howdy, Diana. How are you, girl? I think, yes, you are my wife. I thought it was you. It's a slow stream thus far. It may not happen tonight. It may just be dead. I don't know. Hey, what's up, Terry, brother? Yeah, I know. I'm late. But I was working on intros just in case regulars show up. I haven't done yours yet. I got to collect all the artwork and then figure out the right music and all that jazz. Ooh, Diana's monitoring chat. Well, hello, Diana. Thank you for monitoring the chat. I do have some ready. I could show you, but the guys aren't here, so it would be kind of unfair, I think. I'm getting a message from Facebook. I don't know what it is, because the other device is doing it, not this device. And do I risk the bandwidth to go see what they want? See who it is? Yeah. Ooh, I don't like my face so big. What's up, Timothy? How you doing, brother? How's Melbourne going? Let's see. Let's see if we can get this going. Let's see. Okay, send this out. So we'll see if Timothy joins. Not that he has to or anything. It's not necessary, but yeah. Yeah, you know what? Enjoying chats is kind of weird because it seems to be passé. It's so 20th century. But who knows when it could become polluted? There are so many trolls in the world, It's going steady. That's like in high school. I remember going steady in high school. It was so cool to go steady. Not really. That was actually terms from the Greece movie, I guess. Alright, hang on. I need to see if I can find something here just in case. There we go. Alright, yeah. This will work. Except I have no idea which is which. That's kind of scary. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm looking at something I set up. Remove that and try this. Hang on, you might hear some noise. No, you won't, because I'll turn this down. Alright, yeah. Alright, so, hello, Miss Rena, how are you? Diana's monitoring the chat, and I believe Timothy just came in the back room, so let me do something here. Alright, so guys, I'm a one-man show tonight in terms of production, so I'm having it's difficult what I'm doing right now. I thought it would be easier, but I'm having a very difficult time. Hang on, Tim. Let's try something here. Music might be a bit fast. Yeah.
How nice of you to include the total demise of my old chair.
I love that scene, man.
Under the weight of
I
my
wish we
fat
had
ass.
multiple camera angles. So how are you
Yeah.
doing?
I'm good. Yeah, so
I'm late tonight. I was supposed to be here at 10, but I'm not happy with the intros. I'm going to play with them. I got to get some new software where it can do some really cool effects. But I was like,
you had it raining bullets for a while.
yeah. I don't even know if that's accurate because I don't know if you're a bullet guy or a laser guy. But I was like,
Bullets will be fine.
yeah. Those things I'm experimenting with, doing overlays.
Oh yeah.
But they don't allow me to do so. There's certain video techniques I know would look great in all sorts of situations that I just can't do in the software I have right now. So that's what I'm doing for fun. And on the side, I'm drawing all sorts of crap right now. Unbelievable crap.
What about the good stuff though? You're drawing crap, but what about good stuff?
Well, I think it's all good stuff. I just don't want to sound cocky, so I'll call it crap instead of like shit. But it is really cool. Um, I'm building up to Sunday's read along with Diana, where she does her little edit thing once a week. Like to go through the book and chop it up or down. And this issue's got some curveballs, and I don't think she's ready for them. Sorry.
Is she almost done with her poetry book?
Actually, no, but I did hear the first actual poem from it, and she's coming along. I was quite happy with it. She has a little bit further to go with that particular poem, but it was catchy.
Huh?
She's not here to defend it, so I don't want to say too much because that might blow her mind. But I thought it was good, and I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes with it. Granted, it's not the kind of thing that I would normally have thought of, but then again, I didn't think of putting a sandbox on our convention table, and she did, and it worked. So maybe she's onto something.
Sandbox.
Oh yeah, and our first convention tables, it was based on my first series, which was called Hero Shack Sandbox, and basically, the sandbox was supposed to represent me with all my little, it was like a software sandbox where anything could happen. It was all my little characters doing all their little things while I learned how to make a comic book the way that I thought it should be. And she heard sandbox and didn't think software. She thought about toys in the sandbox and stuff. So she showed up at the convention with these little, they were like 9 by 9 inch sandboxes, and she put in this like really soft sand. It was super cool sand with these little Zen rakes and stuff. And then she put little toys inside of them. And as kids would walk by, they'd see the little sandboxes and they'd get interested. And she'd say, go ahead, play. And she got more sales that way just by getting kids to stop. And they'd start playing with the box, and the parents would be standing there. And Diana would be like, well, since you're here, you want to hear about our comic?
Wow.
And that goes over pretty well at a convention because they're like, yeah, sure, why not, So she came up with that.
To get a booth in a convention, what do you have to do? You have to fill out some form or something, don't you?
Generally, they all seem to do it online. So you just basically go, you fill out an online form. It's not scary at all. Like, it may look it at first, but when you've done it a few times, it's basically telling them what what name you're using as your company. Some will ask you what comic book, or they'll ask for your personal name. Then the basic telephone.
Well, what's the name of the form? Because I got kind of lost trying to find out what that was.
I don't know, Diana. Is there a specific name? I think it's just like an application for vendors or something like that. But it was interactive. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. She's talking about something else. See, she's saying that was so much fun. It was awesome. And it was interactive. Diana, what are you guys talking about? Critical Blast. Diana's forming a union. Yes, she wants to. Actually, we voted this morning on it, and it got voted down 2-0. So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen yet. And of course, Diana and I are the only two employees, so it was kind of an interesting vote. I wasn't sure how it would go. So Diana, what are you guys talking about that's interactive? She's not. Oh, I keep forgetting she's not here. I believe she's in the living room, and I'm not going to get up and find her. So, there we go. Now I feel better. But yeah, getting into the convention, the hardest part is going to be not filling out the form, not even paying it. It's when you get in there, making your table look and feel right to you. When we first went, the 6-foot tables felt huge. Now they feel tiny. And we're talking about we need two boxes or 2 tables next time.
Yeah, I'm just let me share
yes, the sandbox was interactive. That's what she was talking about. She was talking about the sandbox, and it was really cool because she was pulling in on her therapy experience with kids, and one of the things that they use as a form of therapy, I believe, is the little Zen sandboxes. They're very soothing and relaxing.
Anyway, there's this the website here, right? I'm sharing the screen if you want to see it.
I don't see it.
Oh, I'm sharing the screen.
Where is it? Tim, I'm just being a wise ass. I see it. The Bell County.
Yeah, Bell County Comic Con, and right. So you hit here, and this I don't see anything about vending. I see affiliate program, cosplay, and press/media registration. So I just would it be that one right there? Oh snap! I'm all alone, folks. Hell, I guess this is my show right now. So how's everybody? Diana, how are you? Oh, okay. Yeah, you're good. I'm gonna take it that LOL means you're good. Yeah. Oh, that's good. You're very well. And
I didn't know. No, I didn't know I left the stream. Poor Tim. Sorry about that, bro. No, I was actually looking at the Bell County thing too.
yeah, is it the press/media registration?
I don't think it would be, but at the bottom of that page, there is a contact form right here, where you could literally email them. There's email and stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for tickets up here.
Right.
But I don't think that's going to be your vendor stuff. That's, of course, going to be all that's all for customers and stuff, I believe.
Right.
Let's see. Resend ticket. Oh, that's a whole different. That actually sends you to a Ticketron type thing. A different company, I'm sure. FAQs. I wonder what the FAQs might say. Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. I was going to say.
There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Vendors. Vendor booth. Our sponsors, subscribe now. Does my booth come with power? Booth questions. Oh, I found something, but it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, I just need to know how the form in which to sign up for it.
Hey, look who's going to be there. Carmen America, Iconic Comics.
There you go.
Huge indie hit from what? They're really been around at least a year or two. That title.
I might have to look out for that booth if I go.
Let's see. Oh, if you go, I'd definitely go find them because they're really cool. They make a great comic. I mean, I wish we could just interview with them, but not like for entertainment, so that we
Right.
could find out more about what's going on and how they do it and what we can learn from it type stuff.
Right.
Reserve your spot. That's so weird. So yeah, see that takes you back here, and that's not what you're looking for. That's going to be if you want to go as a customer, unless that's what you're looking for. But I think you want a table, right?
Yeah, I want a table.
Yeah.
Autographs.
So your
Okay.
best bet would probably be to reach out and contact them personally.
I think I might
They
have
have
to do
20
that.
amazing, let's see, an amazing list of over 20 celebrity and comic book artists, 70 talented artists. Okay, so that's like Art Sally, 225,000 attendees,
Yeah.
more than 300 total exhibitors. That's going to be a combination of, creators, people selling comics, people selling pop merchandise, and people selling crafts, and 15 panels and workshops. So if am I still sharing this screen?
Yeah, I see it. I'm
Yeah,
already filling out the form, the contact information right
yeah.
now.
Okay, so that was all I can see. Really, there's a place to subscribe to the thing too, but they've got some cool vendors here. Like I see Pizza Hut, and I envy you guys. Jersey Mike is listed. When we go to ours, there's almost never a vendor there for food. Like we'll have like drinks and stuff, but yeah, it's not that cool. Wait a minute, I forgot to do something here. Dun 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 dun. Oh, what did I do? Oh yeah. So I have to do this. Hello, Diana.
Hello.
Now, I think that says no, but I'm going to let no in the room because this is Tism Skism, but I
That's
have
fine.
no idea who no is yet, so we'll find out, okay?
I
Can you
don't
hear
know.
me okay?
What's that? Yeah, we hear you fine.
Oh, hey, it's Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm good. I just woke up a little bit ago from a nap. Did some work. I was at work all day. It was cold out. Oh, so cold. I was at work all day. Oh no. Cold out. Oh, so cold. I was at work all
Oh,
day.
There's a time rift.
Oh no.
yeah, there is.
Yeah,
Can you
hold
hear it?
on. Hold on. I'm fixing it. Give me a minute.
Oh, batting.
Sorry.
Left fielder.
Forgive me.
Mike Piazza.
I can't hear you quite yet. Forgive me.
I think you remember that
Yeah.
movie. Was it Kung Pao Enter the Fist?
I haven't seen that one.
Look, the guy who created Ace Ventura: Pet Detective took a kung fu movie and redubbed it and made it funny.
Oh.
It was hilarious. He had a character called Wimp Low.
I'm trying to get out of the
I
share
don't think you
screen.
noticed that Belton Comic Con also had a phone number in which to call.
Oh yeah, I saw that, but I have to tell you, one of my Aspie traits is that I like never ever try to make phone calls. I always try to avoid it. Poor Diana has to like really deal because like I avoid phone calls and doctors.
Yeah, the thing is though, sometimes I have specific questions that they're not answering, so I have to call them, get direct.
Oh,
Just
you're
tell me.
absolutely correct. Don't get me wrong. It's just that I'm stubborn and like I'll let my whole world collapse on a phone call. Diana will be like, all you have to do is call them.
Question is, now that you know of the Belton Comic Con, are you guys gonna try to go to that? I think it's
where
like
is
in
the Bell
August.
County one?
Are you?
Where is that one? Is that Texas?
Yeah, that's Texas.
I don't know. I'll have to talk to my business manager, who I think is just watching chat.
Diana,
Where is it?
I'm
So
here.
she's
No, I'm
listening.
here too. I didn't want to budge in. I mean,
that's
bounce
Bell
in.
County's in Central Texas.
It's in Texas, huh? We've never
Yeah.
been to Texas. We could theoretically look into it.
Yeah, it's a blast. You should all get down here.
Well, it sounds like a nice southern vacation that's not Florida or the left coast.
This is true. We
Yeah.
might be able to do that.
Unfortunately, we've gotten a rash of Californians here, though.
What was
Yeah,
the
but I
name of
mean,
the?
it's not California itself. I think once they get away from the San Andreas Fault, their brains will stop being so weird.
It's what?
Well, there's
Diana?
a San Andreas Fault that goes down the middle of California there.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
No,
I
I
think
was
it
asking
creates
what
a
was the name of
magnetic.
the?
I think
What
it creates
was
a
the
magnetic
name
gravitational
of
field
Comic Con?
that messes with their head.
It's the Bell County. Shut up! It's the Bell County Comic Con.
The Bell County Comic Con. Okay.
It's usually in apparently Andy hates his computer. It's usually in August, I believe.
Okay.
I could look that up.
Andy, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Sorry, boys and girls, I was having technical difficulty. I'm
What
about
kind
to
of
stab
computer
my
do you have? Is
computer.
it a PC?
Yeah, it's an Acer, but it's quite old, and I'm gonna wait a little while before I buy a new one. So
Yeah, it's August 6th and 7th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
How many
so it's a
days is
2-day
it? Just
event.
one?
2 days.
2 days, yeah.
2 days.
that's the one in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Smack dab in
Is
the
it
middle.
near any casinos?
I don't think so.
No, but lots of strip clubs. We're all good.
Well, I'm a married man. Unless my wife is getting freaky that weekend, they're not for me.
Hey, it's okay to look at the menu, just never order. Remember that.
No, we live by a very strict marriage
That's
code of
stated
honor.
in God's law. It's okay to look, just don't touch.
You can appreciate beauty. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's what when we lived in Florida, I guess the first year and a half of our marriage, I was actually in more trouble than I knew, because living in Florida, like, everybody's half dressed, and I had no idea, but I had like one of the most roaming eyes, I guess. Diana was
He
like,
was so
"You
funny.
were an ass."
His head looked like a bobblehead all the time.
Right, so I had
up
to
and down.
literally like retrain my reflexes, and it helped that we moved to Massachusetts. Not that women aren't beautiful in Massachusetts, but they're always pretty much dressed.
Christopher.
You know what I mean?
They're always
Yep.
dressed in bear outfits. They're always covered.
Yep.
But in Florida, like, it wasn't uncommon to see like a woman who should probably be a model dressed in lingerie and cutoffs. You know, like, that was the style. It's a bra and cutoffs. They might call it a bikini top. I don't know, but it was a hard place for a young man to be.
Well, sometimes you get stuff like that in Texas. Sometimes.
Well, I'm more
I don't
mature
worry
now.
about it.
And
If
I'm
my
deeply
eyes
in
wander,
love
they
with my
wander.
Yeah.
Your eyes are like AT&T. They want to reach out and touch someone, but they can't.
I'm trying to think, what's that one that
shit.
died? Remember the one that was you could put a pin drop? Who was that? I don't remember the name of the company. There was
I don't know.
a telephone company in the 80s that came out, and it was like so good you could hear a pin drop, and they were a competitor
Sprint?
to Mom. What's that?
Sprint?
Yes.
It might have been. I want to say that, because Sprint has been around forever, but they've changed owners a lot. It might have been them, but I'm definitely not an AT&T man anymore.
Well, I just like the slogan.
Yeah, I get that. I'm trying to think of a comp that I could give it for a married guy, but like all I can picture is like, track phone, pay by the minute.
No, those are prostitutes.
No, that's big.
Oh yeah, I guess that would be a bad comparison when you see it that way. Yeah.
Thank you, drive-through. Ding, ding, fries are done.
I guess I'm on the Verizon lifetime membership. I get a lot of upgrades.
Oh,
My wife is always upgrading my life.
Yep,
There you
that's
go.
what I
you
do.
should. You need all the help you can get.
I do, man. You know what? I don't.
And you're
I
always
give her
paying for
credit
it.
all the time, but I don't think people truly understand or appreciate, other than other creators. I think other creators who are doing it alone can imagine how cool it is to have a wife that's helping you along and taking care of stuff that I just consider mundane and boring that I would otherwise not look at. Diana's all over it. Like, especially like we were just talking about convention tables. She designs our convention setups.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it, because Mr. T is not a good setup designer.
So, where are the plants and the flowers that are on the table?
Oh, we never have plants and flowers on our table. She's really good about that. The only thing that I ever have struggles with her is we really need to settle down and do some professional signage. But we always seem to have the Sharpies out and the and the little cards.
Yeah, that's true. I
Yeah,
didn't think
that's the
about
only
that
thing I
every
want to
time.
improve on this year is our signage.
Well,
Yep,
you should always take a computer and a cheap printer with you. That way you can
yep.
hit Photoshop or whatever and print out your own shit really
Yeah, we
quickly.
have considered that because, like, when we were doing prints 2 years, or it was actually 3 years ago with the COVID delay in between, we considered bringing a printer because we were actually running out of prints and having to go like the Staples
Yep.
or one of those Office Depot type places,
Yeah,
and the quality's
pre-COVID.
never as good out of those
Yeah,
places.
if you want to do that, get a really, especially if it's 11 by 8.5 by 11, spend the money on a really good printer, and then take it and leave it up in your room. That way, if you run out of prints, you get like an inkjet or a laser printer and bring with you. You can print them out on any kind of paper that you want. That way, if you run out, you have the option of more
Yeah,
instead of
we actually
spending.
have a really decent 1117 Epson that we could bring. The only downfall with that is, oh my gosh, this thing, it drinks ink. Like, it came out right before the you know how they have the new refillable or
Eco
whatever they
tank.
are ink tanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was out just before that. It prints beautifully. It's 1117 full bleed. Um, but man, if you print more than 5 or 6 full bled 1117s, it will eat your ink. Ask Diana. I'm like
Well,
so mad at it when we get going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need more black. Oh my gosh, I need more magenta. It gets to the point where if we're going to print something, I try to plan the colors of the print before we put it on.
well, I picked up an HP. Uh, it's not a refillable machine. You have to replace the inks, but the inks I can get are actually really, they're like $9 for like a pair of nine
Oh,
or
I
eight,
wish ours was. Oh,
and the printer itself was less than like $250, and it prints 13 by 19 photo print photos.
oh, yeah. See,
So
this is photo print too, but
right,
13 by 19 is even better.
yeah, I'll send you the link to it. I mean, I swear by it. I love it. I mock up all kinds of stuff all the time. Trading cards, comic books,
Yep.
everything, and the print quality is really really good. Especially
We've
if you
been
want to do
using
like
ours on T-shirts, but the 13 by 19 would be beautiful because our presses can do 15 by 15, but I can only print 1117. So
yeah
we're fundamentally limited to 11 by 15 until I get a wider print.
yeah, and they're actually reasonably affordable because I want to upgrade to a different printer, but this one works really good. It does everything I want it to do. It doesn't come with a scanner, so there's no chances of it going wonky because of the scanner, and that's a lot of printer problems just because of the scanner.
Yeah, the
Too many
Epson
moving
doesn't come with
parts.
one either. And in fact, I think that's why the Epson was 1117 full bleed without a lot of expense because they
Yep.
didn't have to put in the, it's the motor and the eye detection and all that stuff.
Yeah, they quickly break down if you're using them on a daily basis, and I almost use mine every day, and it still
Now,
works
see,
great.
because
I
I'm
love
all
it.
digital, that's been taken out of my loop because I do everything on the iPad. Um, and when I do a physical sketch, I usually end up setting it up and taking a digital photo, high res, something I can just again put into digital format and go.
I just bought a cheap printer that had a scanner bed. Yeah, it's only 8.5 by 11, but I know so much about like scanning stuff. I just left the printer cartridges that came in it, and it still works, and the scanner's the only thing that's used on it. And it was
That's
like
awesome.
less than $50, which you can't buy a scanner nowadays
No,
for less than 60 to $80. So it's one of those things where it actually was cheaper just to buy the cheap Walmart printer. You know.
yeah, when it's funny too because when you get caught up in printing, like I absolutely dream of getting like a small, basically, color laser thing that I could produce books on. Um, just like that guy George,
Yep, I know.
G Prime 95.
George Peter Gatz.
No, the other George. George, Greek last name. I can look it up real quick. He
Yeah,
does all
I
the
only know
weird
one
political
George.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like Papalopoulos or something like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
I've heard the name, but I don't know him.
So I've only bought one of his books, but it was literally handmade. He made it at
Yeah.
home,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
beautifully printed, all on home lasers and stuff. And someday I would love to do that, but I want to do that when we're selling millions of books, and then I can put out like a handmade edition that we have a home press for.
Well,
Dreaming, nothing
I
like a
wanted
dream.
a couple Christmases ago. I made it, or like 2 years ago. Um, I put together an art book, like a collection of all the projects and stuff I've been working on for the last 10, 15 years.
Yep.
Um, I put it in an art book. It's like, I'm gonna say about 300 pages. Well, for Christmas, I made little mini versions of it, which were 5 by 7. I printed all the paper out for the people I worked with at work. So I made 5 hardcover books, clamshells, a bunch of little mini comics, prints, trading cards, poker chips. I made a ton of stuff for them, and I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That
Well,
sounds really
actually,
cool, actually.
I don't know if Diana's aware of it, but like you just said, 10 or 15 years you've been doing comics, right?
Off and on, as a tattoo artist, I've been playing with it and learning and meeting a lot of people. Yeah, but never serious till now.
Have you been 10 or 15 years doing tattoo art?
Over 25.
Yeah. Okay. So you're basically a lifelong artist too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was. I regret the last, I'd say, 20 years when I let it go completely,
Don't
and then it
regret
started
anything.
like, oh man, but I missed all that time.
But don't regret it. You learned a lot, and you learned your lesson. Don't regret it. You
Right,
ended up
right.
with a beautiful wife, didn't you?
Oh yes, I did. Thank God for
If you
that.
were doing art, you probably wouldn't have met her because artists are pretty fucking flaky.
That's true. That's true.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Pooh
That's a
Rock
nice way to
Makers
put it.
Industrial asked if is the Chinese
Don't get
version
me started
of
on
the book coming
artists.
out soon. I would like to do that actually. I think China's an untapped market. My fear is the CCP may not approve of my characters or the storylines. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's China is a very interesting prospect, but I don't know if that's the right market for our
Well,
characters at this time.
there's only a few restrictions that you really have to think about, but they really they if there's any diversity, you have a problem.
Mm.
Well, and Diana can tell you without giving away any of the bugs or any of the secrets. Cyclopean 4 is going to start to push boundaries that are probably not expected out of a book intended for 10 and up. But the issues that we're dealing with are being dealt with in a very responsible manner. Because I
Yeah,
think one thing kids 10 and up are missing is almost an ability. Nobody's teaching them how to think anymore.
Can I
They're
read
teaching them
this?
what to think. And I
Can,
think that's a mistake. I think we need to help them learn how to think.
can I read this?
Yeah.
Okay, so Pooh Rock says, "Is the English versions of your book coming soon? Out soon?"
Well, go to HeroShack.com. Oh, I wanted to
probably
do it so
not.
well and I messed it up. Go to HeroShack.com right now and you can get English versions of all our books, plus free samples in the free comics area. And when we say sample, we don't mean like 3 or 4 pages. Basically, we've got all the books, pretty much all the books I did from 2019 and 2020. And the idea now is we will release new books, but only when they're online on our site, but only when they're as old as a year from their print date. But Diana is spreading our
Yep.
wings, and I do have a webtoon comic possibly, or I don't know which
Yep.
company she's going with, but I am
Maybe,
working on a digital
maybe
comic.
he means British English.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll have to talk to our representative in the office. That's you, Diana.
I gathered that. I don't
But
think
can you
so.
tell us anything about the web project you've got me working on?
Yes, I can. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Oh wow,
This
your
is way
phone.
past
You
my
sounded like
bedtime.
you were yawning there. That was some pretty bad
He
distortion.
was.
Yes, so webtoons. I would like to see Chris put this new character that he's working on and develop a very simple, fun webtoons. Let's test the waters and see how he does there. So that's one of the things that we're looking into.
Is the
And
cartoon canceled? Dylan last said last stream that it was canceled, true or not? I'm not sure which one Dylan said last stream was.
there was a conversation that you were going to do a cartoon of the Great Cyclopean, I believe. This was a while back,
Oh,
but
I'm
I'm
still
not
playing
sure.
with the whole cartoon thing. So
Yeah.
straight up and honest, I'm looking for a very easy software solution that I don't have to dedicate 8 months of time to become certified and able to work with. It may not exist.
Are
I've
you
tried
drawing it
something
by
that
hand or do you want 3D animation?
basically I don't even want that. I want something so simple that I can like set up simulate, like think about the old 1960 Marvel comics that were basically just moving a couple of frames on a still picture. And I want something that simplistic so I can put together like a retro 60s cartoon look.
Okay, that's all done by. You could do that in Photoshop. I know of some places where they can. It's a motion comic that you're looking at doing, where you take and tweak out the drawings so it looks like they move like Marvel and DC used to do a few years back, where they would release motion comics of actual comic books that they turned into moving cartoony like comics. That's all
I bet
done
you I
by.
can find motion comics, huh?
Yeah.
I'll look that up. I bet you can find at least tutorials of it on
Yes.
YouTube.
Yeah, you can find a bunch. Unity, I think, has a couple free classes talking about that stuff, or you could probably get some lessons pretty cheap that are
Right, right.
lifetime stuff. I have a lot of stuff on Udemy, Gumroad. I do buy a lot of tutorials. Um, but yeah, you could do that in almost any kind of software. But Adobe Illustrator they use a lot of for that stuff too because of the tools they have. So yeah, it could be done.
See, that's that, and you've been around long enough. Like I used to be all Adobe. Like that was my bread and butter for my 9 to 5. And oh, I've done so good about staying away from it. I'm So, oh gosh, I don't want to go into that whole subscription
Do
thing.
you draw? You draw just solely on the iPad. You don't use your computer.
No, I use Procreate on a 12.9 iPad.
Okay,
In fact, all I use the computer for is proofing and streaming and things of that nature.
because I know Clip Studio Paint it does have animation on it.
Oh well, I'll look at that because I actually have that on the Mac. I just haven't dedicated a lot of time to it.
Yeah,
Uh, but
because if you're
now
just
would be a great time because I've slowed down my process. Like I've looked at my books. I think I've got 16 pages of Cyclopean 4 done, which is good
Right.
for me because it used to be I'd be like closer to like 30 pages by now.
But
And
Chris, this might be another project, this cartoon that you can start focusing on along with the webtoon or
right, but
the
the webtoon one is a bigger one because that's going to be a black and white. It's definitely going to be like it would have to be called at least PG-13. Like, and I would say closer to R.
Yep,
It's going to
yep.
be edgy. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I don't know if anybody saw the post, but I did post like a sketch of the character. And when I call it a sketch, like it needs refinement big time, but yeah, it's great. I'm trying to open up my computer over here. I'll actually show you if I can get it saved over. I think this is it. Yep. All right. So select. So Diana. Oh,
Yes,
she's not even. Keep talking for a second
I'm
while I
here.
do this.
Oh, keep talking for a second. Well, it's kind of odd for me. Hi, it's odd for me to be in the show. I don't normally pop in, but I was just sitting here and I said, "Hey, do you want me to pop in and monitor the chat for you?" And he said,
yeah.
"Sure."
You class up to
Um,
join. You
class
bring
up the
class
joint.
to.
There you
You
go.
bring us class. You bring class to us classless mother. As classless
Oh my
people.
gosh, you're funny. Yeah, but I feel like you guys won't talk like you normally do because I've heard some really funny conversations when I wasn't in. They probably won't
Mostly
stick
really
too
stupid
much
conversations.
longer.
That's why you have to pop in.
But those are the best
Is that what it
conversations.
is?
It's just a quiet
Exactly,
night.
right?
It's a nice calm
You're
night.
like a referee when our conversations get too stupid.
Isn't it? Oh my God,
Oh.
you guys are funny.
You're
Um,
not supposed to admit conversations ever get stupid.
Oh, they do all the time.
Oh, mine do all the time. I talk about completely stupid things.
Yeah, but you
Yep.
guys are killing my arguments. I'm not going to be able to get away with anything.
No. You've been
it's
married long
okay.
enough. You know that no matter what you say, it's
Yeah.
a battle you're never gonna win. Ever, 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 ever. So just admit defeat and say yes, dear. Right away, dear. How high do you want me to
Anything you
jump,
want.
dear? Where do you want me to bury the body, dear? And just go with
Oh
it.
my gosh, that's too funny.
So there's a lot that I'm going to be working with this character, but the basic, as you can see, costume is not going to be elaborate. He's going to be a t-shirt guy. I'm thinking in the vein of Daredevil, but he's not blind, and there's other stuff to him that makes him unique. I have a name for him, but I don't want to give it away till I have like artwork that can properly present with him. But yeah, that's kind of like one of the side things I'm playing with. I read somewhere you have to draw a character 100 times before you really get good with them, so I'm still working on that, feeling him out,
Feeling
getting to
him
know
up.
what looks
What?
good and what
That's
doesn't.
kind of
What's that?
feeling him up. That's kind of wrong there, buddy. At least he says it's okay.
Yeah, he was consenting at least before I knocked him out, and that's another picture I
Oh,
can't tell
don't
you
say
about.
that.
He got knocked out in a fight, so yeah, that's different.
Uh-huh.
Yes, in a comic, of course. um, so I can't think of too much else that I'm thinking of. I know last night on Lorenzo's show it was a big forgiveness night, and so like
Oh God.
I Yeah, it was crazy, but I was like, you know what, this is funny. I think it's great that there's a forgiveness attitude in the air, and I think whether or not it was comedic is up in the air. I
No, it wasn't comedic at all. It wasn't up in the air. But it was funny for a minute.
I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy watching these guys, you know. And of course, Stu is always fun to watch on the air, so that was a lot of fun last night. Rick's not around. I don't know what happened. I thought he had a stream too, but after I went on Lorenzo's show for about 3 minutes, I lasted, and my iPad was freaking out. I pretty much fell asleep, and that was pretty much it for, I don't know. I woke up 5 o'clock or so, but then I took another nap. It's been weird because whenever I have a snow day at work, it throws everything off. This is inappropriate. All people who use, I don't know what TGIS account, do not like inappropriate things. What's a TGIS and what's inappropriate? I'm a little confused.
Yeah, I haven't really commented. I think it's just they're just being silly. Um, but
What's up, Mike?
honestly,
Hey,
Hey
knock it
guys,
off.
I'm not.
TGIF generally stands for Thank God It's Friday. That's
But this is
generally what it is.
TGIS.
Yeah,
I
TGIS.
don't know
Maybe it's thank
TGIF.
God.
I would imagine if TGIF is Thank God It's Friday, then I would think TGIS might either mean Thank God It's Saturday or Thank God It's Sunday.
Yeah, but he's spamming the chat. That's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, look at that. He is. Hey Pooh, man, do you? I don't know. Does Pooh want to get? What do we do? Block him or something?
No, tell him to knock it
I don't
off.
know. I don't want to block you, dude. Stop spamming.
Yeah, knock it off.
Shame on you. Stop spamming. Let's have fun. I don't know what inappropriate is anymore. This is absolutely a mature themed program as defined in the description, I believe.
Oh
Not
yeah,
that
he
we're
really went
Thanks,
not that
back.
we're
Terry.
intentionally
I saw that too.
yeah, we're not intentionally like,
No,
being adults, but
it's
like
after dark. We're
yep.
perfectly acceptable. This is not a children's show, and if he has a problem with it, he can, you know.
It's a big network, buddy. You can go find a cartoon or something.
This is true. And what you guys weren't talking about anything appropriate. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
So,
I think we're
Well,
just getting spammed. That's okay though. I'm just trying to be nice. It's
hmm
it's it's
He was
frickin'
around the
Friday
other
night. I don't
day.
want to fight.
Him
well,
and
yeah,
that
these
other
people.
guy were around the other day, and they were just causing problems. It looked like.
Yeah, they do. They come
What
in
happened
once
to
in a
the
while.
satin car dealer? He was fun.
Who?
You guys don't remember
hey,
him?
hey Chris, did you get my message earlier?
I don't know. Where'd you send it?
Well, I sent it via your I sent directly through your email on your YouTube channel there. It was just a
No,
reminder.
I haven't seen anything yet. But to be honest, I woke up from my nap and I started
Chris
working
is
on
always napping. Terrible.
yeah.
He's old, Letty.
Yeah,
I started working on some.
I've been trying to send you like little reminders of when I'm streaming and stuff, so you can come by and say hi. You and
Right.
Hannah, and it's like, well, we have Mighty Geek Studios here who dropped in earlier, so
Well, I'll probably be the worst one for like seeing those on time or at all. I'm terrible with my email. Um, I just I zone out into, I don't know
Well,
what you want to call
okay, I'm going to tell you guys, Chris is one of those people that will take a nap and then he wakes up about 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, stays up all day, and then he comes home from work at 4:30, sits on the couch, falls asleep, and the cycle repeats itself. So a lot of times when you guys are streaming, like tonight, for example, he was supposed to start at 10. He was napping. I've been downstairs doing homework and stuff, and I come up and like, what happened to your stream? Oh yeah, yeah, I gotta do that. He's so funny. I did see the email, Mike, but it was this evening. It was when I was coming upstairs. I happened to check the business because that's our business account. So I said I should check. I'm waiting for a few emails, and I saw that you emailed the reminder, and I came up and he was sleeping. Like, well, there's no way he's going to get
Well,
on
you know,
that.
you
It's probably
yourself could have,
over.
you know, Diana, you yourself are also welcome. You know, I mean, yes, I'd love both of you, but you guys can come in individually too.
That's true too. That is true too.
You know,
And I will. Do you stream Monday through Friday, right, Mike?
right, from 6 to 9.
Okay.
Now, granted, I do keep my streams out, so if you still want to go back and look at the content, you
Hmm.
know, you can still do that too. It's just that usually a lot of times it's better when you experience it live than going back to it. You know,
Well,
it's
yeah,
like
and it's nice just to pop in and say hi and just listen to the
and
chat
have
and
that
maybe
interaction
contribute.
and have that
Right,
interaction.
exactly. Exactly. And I did say I was going to be there at some point. I have not forgotten. Um, so that's why I really need to get like almost like a TV guide, so to speak, of people's times that they go on so I can plan it. I can literally put it in my planner because that's how busy I am.
Well,
And say, oh yeah,
you have a YouTube account, right?
yeah, yeah,
So you can also subscribe to my channel too, and you can get the
right. Oh
notification.
yeah. Haven't we subscribed to Christian Mike's channel? I thought we did.
Excuse me.
Can you guys hear Chris? I can't.
Yeah, I can hear him.
You can hear him?
I can't
I
hear him,
don't
and
hear
his
him.
light's not.
Chris, if nobody can hear, we can't hear you.
But
Are you talking?
I was muted, then I was just messing around. No, I was saying that like I almost never see my alerts unless they're from my boss or Diana. They're the only ones that get like a custom sound.
Mine's like a warning sound. It's a really big buzzer. So he knows to answer that.
Do what?
My sound for you guys, for your sound for me rather is like a loud buzzer, like a you know.
Like a
That's why you
robot.
answer. It's so loud and annoying. And I watch television. Thank you for letting us know that you are the poo crew. That's very cool that you're the poo crew. Crew. Poo crew. I can say that 3 times. Poo crew. Poo crew.
So does anybody remember Mr. Hanky? Do I have the right name there?
Who?
Mr. Hanky. I think that was his name.
I
South
have no
Park.
idea. Oh, I don't remember South Park very much.
Hang on, let me see if I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Hanky. You guys don't know Mr. Hanky?
What about him, honey?
He's the king of the food club.
Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo.
I'm a little
Okay.
shocked, honey. You need to get up on your pop culture. This
South
is like
Park.
classic stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Like
he said, Mr. Hanky, South Park. Aha. Very cool.
Yeah, I didn't like Mr. Hanky or South Park, so
no.
no. They can all burn in hell for all I care.
Well, South Park does have a way of offending, everybody. But I always kind of liked that it was like to me, it seemed like an equal opportunity offensive show.
I just never thought it was that funny. Like everyone made it out to be more than what it was.
I actually love that show.
Well,
just
I
never
laid
got it.
somewhere in the middle on that one because I thought some of them were hilarious, and then some of them I was just like waiting for them to be hilarious and never really got there. But like I always thought when they were hot, they were really hot. Like when they put out a good episode, it usually hits a lot of bells and whistles for me. But Kenny is finally dead, isn't he?
Last I heard, he was.
Yeah, till
seasons
next
ago.
week. Till next week.
No, I think they really did. I think he's like finally gone from the show, or has been for a couple of years now. I'm not positive though.
Not that I know of. I know that chef has been dead for a long time.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
That's because the guy quit and died afterwards, so they really couldn't bring him back.
Right.
Well, as I remember,
Oh,
even though I didn't really watch this show, watch South Park, as I recall, I think wasn't it Isaac Hayes who voiced Chef on there?
that sounds
It
about
was.
right, but I don't remember for sure.
Right.
Yep. Of course, my favorite character is Timmy.
No, really? I didn't know that.
And my favorite episode is when Jimmy and Timmy joined the Crips.
I don't see like I don't have that much knowledge of it. I'm trying to think. The last one I remember, and this is probably sticks out because of my faith, was the one where they did they became Christian rock stars by singing like popular love songs and just replacing "I Love You, Baby" with Jesus.
Yeah, I think it's
So
the fact that those televangelists get really sappy and they don't seem very genuine when they actually talk about God.
I thought no, I really thought it was a good take on a lot of the I guess contemporary pop Christian culture music. A lot of it sounds like it was written like to sound like a hit. You know what I mean? Like an existing hit. And I think that damages them more than bringing them listeners. But you see it like in all sorts of media. Like when you come up with a popular game, like when Pac-Man first came out, there were so many people copying it. Or Super Mario, revolutionized platformers. Grand Theft Auto showed us what open worlds should be. Um, but yeah, I got lost in my conversation there. Sorry, guys. I gotta get a sip of soda here.
It's
Somebody talk
okay.
while I drink.
I don't know what you're
Well,
talking about.
if you, and I know Mighty Geek Studios popped into my stream earlier, so that was nice of them. Thank you for that.
Hmm.
If you guys do have a chance to go back and if you or either if you want to go back and watch the whole stream again or portions that you missed, if in the case of Mighty Geek Studios, there. Just to give you kind of a heads up on what I covered. Of course, we read. I opened up the show by talking a little bit of, doing some little character bios real quick. Menotep, who was the foe of Zatara in the 5th issue of Reaction Comics. Also covered Crimson Avengers debut. So I also went over his and Wings, and then of course I got in the stories and I covered and I read through the Zatara story, the Crimson Avenger, and the last two pieces being Siegel and Schuster's work of Federal Men and Radio Squad. So just give you guys a
Cool.
little heads up about what I covered, so you'll know what's there.
Absolutely. I do have to catch up on some of your streams because I know I could learn a lot. And I will eventually. All of a sudden, you'll say, "Hey, she finally made it. It's not just smack talk. I'm going to be there." It's just getting myself to sit and watch and join in, prioritizing the things that I need to do, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, when I dropped in on his stream, I thought he was reading Mandrake the Magician.
Yeah, we got into talking about that. Mandrake and Zatara both look alike. Well, okay, so you have the standard fare when it comes to those magicians. They had the top hat and the tux and all that. But and as Mighty Geek Studios also pointed out, they both had sorcery and prestidigitation as magical abilities, and of course the difference is that prestidigitation is the sleight of hand type magic.
Yeah.
Whereas sorcery, it's true sorcery. In this particular story we were reading, though, now Zatara traditionally is known for it spells backwards. Okay, so that's one of the other interesting little things. He would speak it, but in this story, he actually spoke it more in gibberish. So that was the other, Granted,
Mhm.
being that I hadn't been streaming in a couple of weeks, of course, my voice work probably wasn't as good as it usually is, but coming back and stuff like that. But I
How
tried.
old is this comic that you're reading?
Well, this particular comic these were comics that went on sale from DC they went on sale in December of 1938. Or
Right.
not
Okay.
December,
Wow.
September of 1938. Their cover date was
Holy cow.
October of 1938. So yeah, and I'm just
That's cool.
basically coming back from I started all the way back in 1933 and just coming up, over the time.
That's awesome.
So well, I mean, when we see what we're getting nowadays, and you hear a lot of the criticism we're getting from the mainstream comic nowadays, and I don't know if you guys saw that, but I hate my computer just left us, and he mentioned that in private chat too. But anyways, we see a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't like now because of the agenda pushing and all that. And of course, we've seen some of the real nasty stuff that's been coming out this past week. Sure, you've all heard about that. In fact, we were talking a little bit about it, I think, before some of you got there on Sunday on RJ stream as well. But
Are you talking about what they're doing to legendary characters and how they're?
well, that, but yeah, and culminating in John Ridley's take on what happened to Superman in that World's Finest story.
Right.
I
don't know. I got to be honest. I saw something else. I saw a tweet today. I don't know how old it is, but I guess a Marvel editor is warning men not to apply for editor jobs at Marvel.
Oh yeah, that story's been out the last couple of days here. So, and I covered that I think a couple of days ago. So, basically, DC writer Vida Ayala, who classifies herself as a black trans woman, I guess. Huh?
A black trans non-binary.
Does that mean it's a man being a woman or a woman being a man?
In her case, it's a woman being a man.
Well, she's non-binary, so she doesn't even acknowledge that. But basically, yeah, she basically came out and said that quote-unquote cisgender men need not apply for an associate editor position that came up recently for Marvel. That yes, black and brown and femme are all welcome to apply, but cisgender white men are not welcome to apply. Now, she's apparently a DC writer, but
So let me. I just want to say, because I did see that tweet. I didn't know when it originated, but I'm glad.
That seems like discrimination too, though.
It totally is. But let them.
Bigotry. It's bigotry and it's racism.
Yep.
And one of the things she was trying to say was, well, no, it's not because it's against white people. No, racism is racism. Racism is the belief that one race is either better or should be better or treated, more favorably than the other. Okay. It can happen to any race, okay?
Yeah, I get aggravated when they say that it's only whites against other minorities. I'm like, no, racism can happen.
And apparently these people never heard of apartheid before.
Right. Well, they've never walked through a minority neighborhood. I'm not saying that this is every neighborhood or whatever, but when I was growing up, there were neighborhoods I would walk through. And if I wasn't careful, if it was too dark at night, if it was too late at night, it was a racial thing, and I was running because I was the white boy in the wrong neighborhood. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the way it was when I was growing up. But that is racism. Even if you don't like it, even if you want to call it anything else, it's still a form of one race judging another race based on skin and deciding I'm going to go kick his ass. It's racism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is. I don't get the same racism that a black man does and may never. But there's racism in a lot of things, and it goes all ways.
Yeah.
I think. Maybe
You
I'm
know,
wrong.
another story that I covered the other day too. This same day that another story I covered that same day, um, and you guys probably heard about this one too. So there was a comic book shop owner named Mike Wellman, who I think sometime last year or something like that sent out some tweets where he wanted to go and beat up Ethan Van Sciver.
Oh
I've
yeah,
heard this story
I know the
vaguely.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, I guess the most famous quote was he said he wanted to blow his bleeping face off of his bleeping skull or whatever. Well, apparently his shop closed. That was the story that I was covering. But as I was noticing too, they
Yeah.
were looking back to some of the comments that he was, I guess, making, going back to when he was threatening Ethan and all that. He kept talking about wanting to beat
Mm-hmm.
his, to euphemize it, his rear end. He seemed over and over again talking about how he wanted to beat Ethan's rear end, this, that, and the next thing. You guys, if you guys go back and you watch my coverage on this story, I pointed this out. It's like, this guy seems to be projecting a little bit. You almost get the impression that maybe, and I know this is an adult stream, so I can say this, but I will clean it up as much as possible. But he seems to have a fascination with Ethan's rear end, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, and that was very well done, Mike.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about being somebody who is good with words, is that I don't have to swear or be as graphic. I mean, sometimes I will for effect, but usually in just general description, you don't, it's like, for me, I'm old school that way. I believe that, if you have to swear like every other word or 2 out of every 3 words to communicate, you're showing more ignorance than anything else. We have such a vast vocabulary to use, and I've been known for using it. Now, granted, I'm not saying that, there aren't times you get upset and you're not thinking, and of course you're going to blurt out a swear word. It happens. But if 50% plus of your vocabulary is swear words, I mean, could you just imagine if we were living in a world where the censor button was actually available? Can you imagine talking to somebody and you're sitting there going, yeah, I bleeped this and she's such a bleep. I mean, could you imagine that? Every time there was a swear word, there's like bleep. I mean,
Well,
don't need.
depending of what I'm
Basically, you
talking
get more
about,
beat.
I don't know. I can be quite. I can curse a lot.
More bleeps than you would in
Just ask Rick.
Incoherent conversation.
All right, hang on, guys. I'm trying to do something.
So you're more of a bleeper, Timothy, than you are? Is that what you're saying?
Who's the bleeper?
Well, I guess in certain situations I can kind of watch what I say. I don't make it a point, but if I'm, I guess it just depends who I'm around or how pissed off I am.
Well, I'm not saying that none of us, I think, have never sworn. I think we've all uttered a swear word here or there at some point in our lives. But again, there's a difference between that and somebody who's just, it's like every other word or 2 out of every 3 words has to be a swear word for them to get their point across. It's like, that really shows incredible ignorance when you do that, I mean, it's one thing to be
Well, it's
upset.
definitely not very creative.
Uh-huh.
I'm harassing Lorenzo trying to get him in here for a second.
Well, yeah, I
Oh.
see him on, but I see somebody else who I'm not sure if they were like spamming or not.
Oh yeah, they were. Actually, Diana, Lorenzo, and I all have wrenches, and we all tried to time out the same guy because he's just spamming the chat.
Yeah. Well,
Well, he's just
I
so
have
dumb. It's like,
I have my suspicions of who it might really be.
Please don't bring up who I think you're going to bring up. I mean, Vic
Look,
was
I'm going to
talking.
tell you guys once and for all.
That,
Richard Nixon is dead. He doesn't come to this channel. He's never been to this channel. I don't believe in ghosts. Richard Nixon is dead.
Oh
See,
my
that's how I
gosh,
be
Rick.
diplomatic. I try to change it into something totally
Yeah.
twisted and weird. It's a defense mechanism.
I see this.
Ooh,
Mighty
who'd we lose,
Uh-huh.
Terry?
Studio just stepped out.
All right, so Lorenzo, if you're still in the chat, I'm really just I want to run something because I gotta play these so I can like fix them, and I don't have them for everybody yet. But hang on, I have this one that I did earlier. Is this the right one? Let's see.
No, he did one for Lorenzo. That's right.
And see, then he would be here and we'd say hi. Eventually, I'm going to have one for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he did see it in the chat. At least he got to see it.
Yeah,
I don't
sorry.
see. I don't like him a lot. I have to
He
do
did
something
see
to him.
it.
We need more effects. I need a better piece of software.
Yeah.
Honey.
Oh, are you talking about our
I
little
knew that was coming.
troll there? You guys talking
No,
about?
no. That's for Lorenzo. What I'm going to do is, if you've ever seen Comicsgate Kings, CG Kings, or whatever they call it, they all have like little intros, and I love it. So I'm going to do little intros for people who come here on a regular basis, and then when they show up, I can like play their little intro. But they're not quite there yet. My software just doesn't do enough. I want to do like shaky cam and explosions and all sorts of fun stuff, and it's just so laborious.
Oh, with Lorenzo Slave Stag, I don't know if there'd be a copyright issue or whatever, but I know an intro theme that might work for him would be the Land of the Lost theme. You guys remember that show?
Yeah, actually, I've played it before. What's up, Lorenzo?
That might be under copyright, though.
I think it is, but you know me. I've had all sorts of copyright. They don't.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
They do that steal my profit money. So when I make like that 0.1 of a cent,
yeah,
bastards take it.
Actually, I think Lorenzo, you stopped in on my stream tonight too.
Yeah,
didn't you?
I sorry I didn't stick around so long, but I wanted to stop in and say hi and upvote your channel, give it a like.
Thank you. I never remind people to do that. I just hope they remember. But I forgive them.
Well, I'm talking to Mike.
Yeah.
Your channel, I give it a thumbs. No, I gave it a thumbs.
Well,
up.
I do that too.
I uploaded your channel.
If I go and I watch
channels.
and or participate in a chat or whatever, I will like and in fact, I should have done that here, but I forgot. But now I just remedied that.
Yeah, I try to do that each
time. I'm terrible about it. The only shows I seem to catch are all in replay. Although I did manage to get into Lorenzo's last night, like I said, for about 3 minutes before I had the whole thing blow up on me pretty much.
Well, that's still a bit, you made an effort.
You had a lot of good stuff going on, though.
We did it. We had some bad stuff going on with some trucker noises or something.
Oh, man,
reckless
that was crazy.
Trucker, is he really a reckless trucker?
I guess he is. That was crazy, though.
Hopefully he's not reckless, truly reckless, but it sounds like he might be a trucker because, man, that was noisy. And it was so noisy. Some people ended up leaving during.
Well, yeah, Daniel
But
and
I like
Tanaka were
talking to
like,
the
"What the
guy.
hell?"
I mean, it's just if there was a way of getting rid of that noise, that would be useful.
But it was hilarious because he'd like come back and be like, "Is this any better?" And then all of a sudden it would come back louder.
Yeah, that was great. No, the whole thing. I love that chaos. I mean, it's good to have a little bit of a structure, but I try not to overly. I want to have people be able to come in and kind of. I never know who I'm going to have. I'm not sure who's going to be able to make it in the panel. Somebody might get sick at the last minute, so.
Well, yeah, and it's weird because like the thing about the streams is it means different things to different people. Like sometimes I'll have people that'll come in and like they'll act like they've been here every week for a year, but really they're only here like once or twice a year. And that's okay because to them it's just like, oh, I don't even know you stream. I just happen to catch it. And then you get people who are like, every stream you see them and it's more like a hangout between you and them. And so it's like the whole environment is a really kind of it's different for all people. Like everybody perceives it a little differently, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, I generally try to catch some of the streams as much as I can too, particularly the ones where I can come in and participate. It's like, but like this week I've been really busy because it's kind of funny when you decide to take like a couple weeks off and then you come back, you realize just how energized you are. It's like 4 of the 5, actually, yeah, 4 of the 5 nights this week I've gone over 2 hours on my streams. It was only Wednesday where I barely hit the hour and a half mark. But then, see, on Monday I had 6 stories. I think all 6 were actually from Bounding into Comics, which usually does take me a little longer to. And I was really maybe over reiterating a particular point because one of the stories on Monday I was covering was the John Ridley Superman story that we were just talking about. And I went too much reiterating one particular point that I kept bringing up with that. But then I went like 2.5 hours the next night where had like 10 stories. 3 of them, I think, like 2 of them from Mounting into Comics, 1 from RJ's site, and then like the other 7 from CBR. And then I only had 5 stories on Wednesday, and then last night I had 9.
What do you do? Just grab them off the day's news that you like and want to share or have thoughts on?
Oh yeah, basically. Now the sites I primarily use, of course, are Bounding in Comics, CBR, and since I do niche overall, so I do have comic stories. It's usually what I start out with, but I also like cover anime stories, like. And usually a lot of it is, particularly with the anime story, it's more like release information or like business stuff. Like last night, 2 of the anime stories were in regards to streaming services that actually got purchased. Retro Crush got purchased by Cinedigm or whatever, and AMC Networks purchased Sentai Filmworks and High Dive.
Really?
Yeah. So
this
I didn't even know
this
those
might not
were
be
real
good.
things.
What do you think about this
corporate
consult? I'm sorry. Were you saying something, Chris? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
What do you think of this corporate consolidation, Mike? I can
corporate.
You
mean with all these bigger companies buying up all these streaming services? Well, that's been going on, I think, for a while because they're trying to pick up anime content.
Oh, I see.
To add to more content for like their streaming services. What I'm hoping with AMC doesn't follow the same route as some of these other companies and just try to just totally go woke.
That's what I was wondering. It seems like these large corporations like to do that for whatever reason.
And they're doing it with a lot of these classic animes too. And like in some ways, look at what Netflix did with the live action of Cowboy Bebop, for example. It's like they just totally didn't get it. But again, I don't. I'm kind of like not sure what to make of the AMC deal yet. Cinedigm, from what I understand, has been kind of an independent company. It's not as much, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But like, what I'm a little more worried with AMC about, as we've seen with Sony and Funimation and Netflix and Disney with some of the stuff they've done, is they'll get these streaming services, and then they'll get some of these properties, and then they'll like really edit them to the point to where it's like, and the thing is, a lot of these animes, though, even though they star teenagers, where you have teenagers, like, and usually older teenagers, like 15 to 18, like one of the animes I'm watching right now is Cross Ange, and where you have a lot of the characters who are in that kind of, most of the characters there are somewhere between, let's say, 16 and 20. Okay. And you do have them in some pretty explicit scenes. Okay. You do have some, and so it is definitely, geared towards adults. But the problem you sometimes would have with some of these animes, now, these are 15, 16, 17-year-olds, not 5, 6, 7-year-olds. But the way some of the way they react to some of these scenes, you would think that the characters that are being portrayed were 5, 6, 7. With some of the more, and that's when they start going, oh, that's child porn. That's child porn. They're 15, 16, 17, not 5, 6, 7.
What the hell are we talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Lorenzo, do you understand what I'm talking about?
He's talking about an anime he's watching.
Yes, there are some anime. Okay, there are also there are harem anime, for example. That's another type of anime I've watched before, where you have one central, but a lot of the main characters are older, would be considered older teens. Okay, like some of them.
They'll have like what they call fan service.
Right. But they also,
I think the point Mike was trying to make.
Go ahead, Diana. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Is Chris underwater?
No, it's fine. I was the point that I was.
You and Chris sound like you're underwater.
Who, me?
I think you and Chris both. There's something wrong. Is there something wrong with your internet connection today at your house?
Not to my knowledge. You guys all sound great to me.
Yeah.
That is odd.
Well, I'm on my iPad in the living room. I'm usually in my office, but I was tired and I just figured I was going to join for a few minutes, and I've been here.
Well, you sound muffled.
See, mine should sound really good.
Hey, Chris sounds like he's underwater or something.
Hang on, let me check something.
No, but what I understood Mike was saying is that the anime that he was watching, the characters' ages are 15, 16 to 20-year-olds, and there's some explicit scenes, and I guess other people have thought that that's child pornography, but really they're young teens, adults and you guys have all been there, most of you. I mean,
well, I think the problem you're going to have, and I don't know because I've never seen it, is how explicit is it? I mean, porn is porn,
it depends
right?
upon the anime too, but there are some even in some of the more popular ones like Naruto. There's certain maybe in Naruto and Bleach, there may not be as much sexual innuendo in those because those are more action adventure. But you do see for example, Naruto's set in a world of ninjas, so you may have more blood and gore in it. Let's say. But there are certain genres of anime, for example, a lot of them are in the slice of life, and in some of the subgenres like harem, where you do get more, you get a bunch, for example, you get a bunch of people bathing together, naked,
That's actually part of Japanese culture too. I think.
Yeah, it is. But like, so in American culture, they're going to look at it and they're going to rate it the same way they do movies. So if there's like, enough explicit content, they'll knock it, like as they would a movie. And if a movie had, actresses that were 15 or 16, I can see where you would have at least people who would want to challenge it legally. I don't know if it's a genuine argument that I would, like a hill that I would want to die on if I was somebody involved in
Well,
all
I
that.
know
Like,
this probably wasn't the place to bring it up as much because I know
no, it's fine, man. Tism Skism.
I don't know how much anime you guys have ever watched. So, if you're not as familiar with anime, then some of what I'm talking about may not.
Well, I'm familiar with a certain
I think you're
lawsuit
missing my
going on
point, though.
between some people who were friends with each other, and then they just.
But I think you're missing my point, though. It doesn't matter, like the culture over there. If it's over here, it's going to end up getting judged. Like, so I don't care if they have like full on sex and stuff, but in American terms, they're going to want it rated R
I see what you're saying,
even
yeah.
rated X,
Well,
right?
some
I mean,
of
I
them
don't know
are
how
actually
deep it
rated
gets.
R, and many animes are actually, when they have been licensed and dubbed here in the States, there have been many that have been put more on late at night because of that. Okay, but some of the stuff I'm talking about isn't necessarily stuff that usually makes its way to broadcast TV. Some of the stuff I'm talking about, of course, either on some of the more like specific anime channels where they can kind of more govern it specifically to that channel, or they're put on like late at night, where little kids can't see it, But yeah, but my original point, even though I kind of got on that sidebar with the anime aspect of it, is I cover niche overall. So I do cover comics, but I also cover anime, cartoons, manga, and some pro wrestling too in that. So, since my field of coverage is a little wider, that's why, now granted, maybe here, again, I know you guys, your area of expertise is comic. Now, for me, I would, I may have explained this before too. I didn't necessarily unlike you guys, I think Diana and I are probably more in line on this aspect, but I didn't grow up reading comics like you get, like Chris and Lorenzo. You guys probably did.
I read magazine.
I didn't necessarily grow up reading comics.
In
more recent years, what got me more interested in comics was like when I was growing up, one of my favorite cartoons was Super Friends. And of course, growing up back in the 80s era, of course, I watched a lot of the syndicated runs of many of the DC comic adaptations, as well as the Marvel comic, 80s, 90s and all that. So,
I remember more of the DC stuff that I watched than the Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
I'm only now learning more about Marvel.
Yeah, but that's, and what I'm doing now on Fridays, I originally did just with DC for myself, because you see, part of the reason why I'm doing my historical comic retrospect the way I'm doing it, because when I originally came up with the idea, I originally was doing it for myself for DC, because DC was kind of my universe, universe that I like, and like for me, it was like, okay, if I had the chance to venture into the DCU and have a chance to interact with those characters, would I? And if you want or have a plan to, let's say, venture into another universe, you might want to try to make absolutely sure that you know everything about it that you can. So it's like, even when I'm like, so when I was like doing it with the DC, I mean, I started back in the 30s and went all the way up into the early 60s. So that's how far I got just doing DC. Now, what inspired me to do the historical comic retrospect is a while back, I think maybe early last year or even further back, but one day during the middle of the week, I couldn't really find a whole lot of news articles to go over. So one of the things I decided to do a feature program instead and talk a little bit about Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's work, their pre-Superman work. Okay, because as you guys have probably noticed, I've mentioned this before, where Siegel and Shuster were a pretty prolific duo back in the 30s, even before the debut of Superman. Okay, so I was reading through some of that, and then I decided,
that's really cool stuff to research.
And I decided to read, as a sample, I decided to read the Slam Bradley story from Detective Comics #1. And when I read it, my audience there, my regulars were like, "Hey, that's cool. That's cool. That's And I figured, maybe why don't we take a little journey and go through this systematically? Like for me, a lot of it is learning like for me, learning everything I can about DCU. If for the near instantaneous or whatever chance I end up in the DCU and have a chance to interact with the characters. But I'm sure now, while for me DC is my universe, DC may not be everybody else's universe. Some people may like Marvel. Some people may like Image. Some people may like Dark Horse.
So are you
Dell?
Like so you've got like kind of a backup plan just in case you end up in the DC universe?
No.
Oh, okay. Because
what I'm doing now,
because I ended up here and there were a lot of humans, and that kind of was surprising.
No,
he's joking
what
with you,
I'm
Mike.
talking about is more if you like. Everybody's got their favorite comics universe that if they had a chance to visit, they would visit or even live in. They would want to go to, right? So what I did, that's part of what I do with the historical comic retrospect, is try to open up those doors for people to have a chance to escape into those worlds for a little bit, and learn everything they can about that universe if they should decide that they want to, or they want to at least think about going there if they had the chance.
See, so like a weird thing with me is like I don't even have thoughts like that. I just like it's a different world for me. Like listening to you talk about this stuff, half of it I'm like just like in a different world. I don't even like look at it because like I'm busy like writing stories and drawing them, and I don't mean that like as a slight on the history of comics, but like it's less of a draw for me. I look at it, I'm like, that's cool,
Well, in a way, you're also creating your own comic world,
right?
too.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like because I'm in that, I don't get a chance to really allow myself. The only ones I've ever let into my head really are Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They had so many interviews out there that you really can't help but run into their stuff.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Marvel started out as Timely Comics in 1939. We'll be getting into that coverage soon, but basically, for me, a lot of it is world building, giving people, the knowledge and understanding of the universes that, maybe learning more about the comics that they grew up reading, or, learning about the world that those comics are in. Also, also even seeing some of the comparisons, like word usage, language usage, grammar usage, how things were, comparing back then to, and even doing some societal commentary when you look at like how things were handled back then as compared to how they are today, too. Looking at that, a little bit of everything I try to do in there, to really give people a full experience. Like, I know there have been a lot of commentators, who've talked about how that sense of escapism, with all this agenda pushing and all that a lot of these mainstream comics are doing, that sense of escapism is really getting lost. And, I figured if we look back to the past, we can maybe recapture some of the fascination of that escapism that we.
Oh yeah.
You know.
And then if you go back to like the Golden Age, wasn't that before they had the comic book code, or at least some of the Golden Age books? I don't know when they came about.
Back in the 30s, they weren't even called comic books; they were called comic magazines. They were like 64 pages regularly, and they were sold at newsstands. So you could go to your local newsstand and buy a comic book for 10 cents. Now, I think there was a rule back then, too, that since it was being promoted as a magazine, there had to actually be one story in there that was a text story. At least one story that had to be like a text.
That's interesting.
You know, also in that, if when you do look through the books and you look at all the stuff, including the ad pages and some of the other stuff they would do in some of those books, it would actually remind. I don't know if now, Chris, you and Diana might know. I don't know if you would know this as much, Lorenzo, but if you remember going to the doctor's office and they'd have magazines there, and then some of the kids' magazines they'd have would be the highlight magazines.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, I remember the highlights. I loved them.
What was that, Diana?
I like the highlight series. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I know we talked about this on Sunday and how comic books and comic magazines back then seemed to be at times more geared towards adults. But from what I saw, particularly some of the earliest stuff, it was more reminiscent of what you'd see in highlights, in the highlight magazines. Because they not only have the comic book. Now, granted, a comic book is compared to a comic magazine is compared to the highlight like in the highlight magazine, you had a little bit of everything. You had activity pages, you had the pictograph stories, you had text stories, and you had a couple of comic stories there. But in a comic magazine, obviously it's majority comics, but you'd have a text story in there. You might have some activity pages. You have some very interesting ad pages. You'd have some like feature pieces, like this type of stuff where, well, let me introduce you to this movie star, or this sports star. It's like you had a little bit of everything back in those days. Wasn't just the comic stories themselves, and then and that would give you like 64 pages of content.
Yeah.
And back then, of course, they were anthologies, whereas now everything, and this is. I would say at least this is one thing about most of today's comics that I'm not overly. I think anthologies are good because if you're trying to build a world up like that, anthologies work because it gives you in smaller doses in more of an episodic format as opposed to. I know RJ's been very critical about how you have a lot of these books now that are written more serially, where you have just this one big story that goes over periods of time.
It can be hard to keep track of. But you might want to follow a story and then branches off in a bunch of different.
I don't know. As a creator, I got to tell you guys, my biggest concern right now isn't following the standards like that have been set forth. Like I'm literally looking for ways to make our product stand out, which may mean breaking the barriers. It might mean printing books different sizes or trying different approaches on how to sell it physically. Like I have some really cool ideas. I just don't know if we can pull off yet. But like, I don't want to say them yet because if somebody who can pull it off hears it first, they might do it before me. Like there has to be like a gimmick to get yourself above and beyond the typical comic book reader and into the mainstream. And that's kind of where my mind has been drifting over the last, I'd say 4 or 5 weeks.
Well, from what I've seen, Chris, I think one of the big things you're doing that I think is going to help you with what your ultimate goal is that you are trying to build a world. You have the Great Cyclopean, you have Cluster Fudge. Those could be your Superman and Batman right there.
Right. Well, you know what's really funny, Mike, is the first 2 years most of the same characters were in those books, but I've done 3 reboots. This one here that I'm currently in is the 3rd time I've launched these characters in 3 years. Well, 4 years now, but I'm sticking with the final. Like the first 2 I didn't plan enough. The 3rd one, this one is well planned. So there will be no reboot because I've got I've learned enough to know like how to space my stories out. So even if you space them out enough, even if you screw up, as long as you have a little time and space in there, you can make it work. And sometimes you have to go back in time and screw things up. That I don't want to do that. I want to just have it well spaced. And
Well,
learning all that stuff was a challenge though. And now all the old books kind of stand as a testimony, and I hope an encouragement to people who are like stuck, who start books and have to cancel them or never get them launched.
well, okay. Let me reveal something that I learned from my studies of like the Golden Age comic. The numerous times I've looked over the synopses and all that. Back in the early history, you know what they were doing in the early days? As I mentioned to you, they were doing anthologies more. You'd have these anthology books that were published monthly, and then where they had a number of characters. Now, not every obviously very early on they weren't all the characters were not connected. They were all their own thing. But then when you saw like Superman's debut, that's when you started seeing some crossovers and stuff like that, and you started seeing them build the universe. Well, you'd have your monthly anthologies, which would give you like slate of each comic book had a slate of characters, like like with where we're at right now. For example, it's in September of '38. So the 3 main names that most people would know from Action Comics from the early days, where I'm covering, is of course Superman, Zatara, and Tex Thompson. And then in Detective Comics, you have Slam Bradley, Speed Saunders, and of course the Crimson Avenger, who just debuted in issue 20. You'd have these anthology books have all these different characters in them, right? And they would be for the now the earliest stories were serials, but by this time they started doing it more episodically, where each story in the anthology was standalone. If you have certain characters like Superman, for example, who became popular enough, then some of your most popular characters would get their own title, right? Superman got his own title in about a year after he debuted in Action Comics. Batman, same thing, after he debuted in Detective Comics 27. They would get their own feature.
I think didn't this happen with Hero Shack Chronicles?
What's that?
Oh, I think Diana needs to get this. She was trying.
Yeah, I was just saying good night because I'm
good night, baby.
exhausted.
I'm not far behind you. I'm not far behind you. I won't be on much longer.
That's okay.
I am kind of fading, but
well, I want to at least try to finish.
Yeah, I just thought maybe Chris might already have done that with his Hero Shack Chronicles, but I'm not sure if that was an anthology.
Well, in a way it was, yes. But the thing is, I've collected reprints of not most of the titles you're saying, but most of the eras that, like the old Golden Age books. I went through a stage where I was buying trades of those where they were all collected, and
oh, cool.
That was kind of cool. The only thing that, and obviously it's because time has advanced the techniques. The only thing the Golden Age ever really said to me, though, was like they weren't really high quality for the most part. A lot of them were just kind of like shot out so quickly due to deadlines and due to publishing pressures and stuff that, like, when the artists and writers finally got a chance to do something they loved that they were allowed to work on, they would shine. But a lot of the old stuff, I felt really bad for the artists, and I didn't know why it sucked until I read interviews and learned more about it. Like, they'd be thrown together in a bullpen for a weekend and have to churn out 30 pages, and it would be like 8 guys just
So
cranking out a comic because they had no choice. They had to get it on the press to get it delivered.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's in some ways they're still doing
yeah.
30 page loads, but instead of spreading it out over, let's say, 5 or 6 features, they're doing it for one feature. So it's
I think. I also think there were so many different comics back then that like you could probably like you guys could like talk about it, and some of them would be really good, and some of them would be like what Chris was talking, because there were just so many different companies, right? Too.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff, you're right about the number of comics, because like it wouldn't just be comics they'd want to run presses for, but if their presses weren't running, they weren't making money, so they'd want to keep them running as much as possible. And comics was one way. Like if they were having a slow month, you would just print comics and you could sell those, and it was successful. But like artists and writers weren't always treated. What am I saying? Weren't always. They usually aren't treated properly, right?
Yeah. But like if you're like talking about Simon and what were they called? Not Simon Schulcher. What were those guys' names? The guys who made
Simon and
as Superman,
the comic book creators, yeah.
Siegel and Schuster.
Yeah, like I could imagine them turning out some really excellent stuff. Seemed like those guys work really well together. Am I right, Mike?
Yeah, well, yeah, because okay, so here's the thing: before Superman debuted, right?
Yeah,
they were publishing 5 features, okay, across I think it's like 4 books.
Wow.
And publishing a page count total of something like 29. Okay, so they had in Detective Comics they were publishing Slam Bradley, which was like 13 pages, and Bart Regan's Spy, which was 6 pages. Then in Adventure Comics they were publishing Federal Men with Steve Carson.
Was this every month? All these books? Did they put?
Yeah.
Wow. So
and then
they were quite prolific then.
Now this was actually before Superman. This is before the debut.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other 2 regular features they were doing at the time were Dr. Occult feature, which was 4 pages.
Oh
and
yeah.
And then Radio Squad, which was 2. Now when Superman debuted, they stopped doing the Doctor. That's when the Dr. Occult feature ended. And that's when the Dr. Occult feature ended. But they gave his 4 pages to Radio Squad. So Radio Squad was now 6, and Superman was about 13 pages. So they were still doing. Now they were doing 5 features across 4 books. Because Superman debuted in Action, so you had in Action you had Superman, which was 13 pages. You had in Detective you had Slam Bradley, which was still 13, so you had 26 pages right there, plus the 6 for Bart Regan's Spy, so that's like 32. And then you had the 4 pages and for 36 pages, and then 6 pages more, so 42 pages for 5 features across 4 books.
Well, couldn't they have just put out 4, like maybe say 4 comic books, each focusing on a different character if they wanted to? I mean, what's the advantage of having like anthologies if you have to buy each and every anthology to follow these characters? Or I'm probably misunderstanding something.
Well, what's the advantage? Just learning as much about much of the world as you can, I would guess. I mean,
well, you mean like why would you publish an anthology versus a dedicated character book?
Yeah, if it's the same writers for each same writer and artists for each story, and they're just consistently writing about the same characters. It would.
Well, they weren't the only ones writing the story.
Okay. I'm sorry. I knew there was must be something I didn't understand there.
That was just one creative team, but it wasn't the only creative team. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I know
there were a
Detective
number of
Comics
guys
is
who
still
had
around
like
too.
like Georgie Brenner had 2 stories that he published in like feature funnies for Quality Comics, for example. You know, The Clock and
Huh.
I can't remember the other guy's name, but Siegel and Schuster, they were one of the more prolific because they were one of the ones who had more features that they were publishing, but they were not the only feature. Okay.
Okay, so these were so these really were like different people writing, like modern day anthologies.
Yeah, it wasn't just one set. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't
Okay,
one
so,
set of one creative set doing all these stories.
okay,
It was,
so
but they did have a number of stories, but not like every.
well, that would be that could be a lot of fun reading because and it might be useful for someone like me myself who's dyslexic. You know, you can go and read. I assume these were a little shorter.
Yeah, they were they were generally okay. So here's how things. So back at the very beginning of comics, right? Initially, the very first anthologies that were coming out. First off, most of them were reprint collections, so they were reprinting stuff that that was coming off of like the newspaper comic strips.
Oh, so it started with the comic strips. Okay, it did.
Some
Yeah.
anthologies,
So
like for
that's
example,
what I was into as a kid was comic strips. But you're saying way back in the day that's what it started off with was the comic strip first. Yeah.
Well, okay. So some of the first, like DC was actually the first comic book company that published like all original features in their books.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That is interesting.
But the company one of the companies that preceded before them was Eastern Color with Famous Funnies. That was all like reprints of newspapers.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. So they were more comedy oriented, like maybe like nowadays we got
you did have some more.
They didn't have Peanuts back then, but
know.
Nowadays we got like Peanuts and Garfield and stuff. But obviously those are much newer, you know.
Yeah, I mean, again, comics evolved over time, and you have a chance to look back. Like originally the anthologies, they were 64 pages, but they were like you would have like 30 features that were about 1 to 2 pages per feature. And then we get to the point where I'm at now, where depending upon the anthologies you're talking, like the reprint features, we're now down to like 14, 15 story, mid-teens, but they were like on average about 4 to 5 pages per story.
Oh wow, that's a perfect. That would be perfect for me.
More like superhero oriented action adventure type comics, like action comics and detectives. They would have maybe like somewhere 7 to 10 stories that were on average about 6 to 8 pages.
Oh yeah, so even that's pretty cool. That seems like that could get kids interested in reading too. You know, like maybe we should be promoting that sort of thing nowadays.
Again, I would highly recommend you guys start watching my Friday streams. You can learn more about
Oh, definitely.
Were really how they did things back then, how they published. Because here's the thing. As of on sale date September 1938, right? As of September, you had, and I know I got to make sure I make this very clear because somebody actually got confused in how I said this, but you had at that time 8 companies publishing a total of 25 books, or an average of 3 books. Now, obviously, not every company was publishing 3 books. It's like you did have one company, David McKay, that was publishing 3 books, but you had like Centaur, for example, they were publishing 8 books, okay, on kind of a monthly basis, and then you had and then you had like DC up to this point was now publishing 4 books. Dell was publishing 5. So
So that sounds interesting. So that's interesting. So nowadays we got just tons and tons of comics, but like the big, like we've got like 2, or maybe you could count IDW if you want to say that there's a big 3 or whatever. But I always hear it referred to as a big 2. But back then they had like around 8 that were.
You had 8 comic book companies that were
competing against each other, right?
You had 8 that were, as I said, publishing 25 total books. So
it's a lot fewer books than nowadays, but
but you had so Centaur was publishing 8 books. They started up in 1936 and ended in 1942. That's why you don't hear about.
Wow.
Actually, the Clock originally debuted in Comics Magazine #1, which was one of theirs when they were still called Comics Magazine. Dell was publishing 5 books Dell Comics was publishing 5 books at this point. Now
that sounds familiar.
Dell was around a little bit longer. They started in 36 and went well into the 50s. Dell and then its successor Gold Key would do a lot of more license type work in which they'd pick up like certain licenses, like Looney Tunes and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they were publishing 5 books at the time. DC was publishing 4 books. Let's see. David McKay was publishing 3. Now, David McKay, their books were reprints of King Feature Syndicate characters, which was like Thimble Theater with Popeye.
Yeah.
Mandrake the Magician, who Mighty Geek Studios was talking about earlier. Let's see. So, So David McKay was publishing 3 books.
Wow.
Then you had United Features that was publishing 2 books. They're
a comic strip company, is it? Were they a comic book strip company or as well, or just comic books? United Features sounds familiar, but
Centaur,
hey guys,
oh.
Guys, I got to get running. My wife is
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
So listen,
I don't know. Did you kind of notice? We had a bit of a quote unquote guest.
No, I saw. I don't worry about it, man.
Yeah.
I saw the chat, but I had nothing to say to that. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, I got to go before I get in trouble. You guys have any shows tomorrow, or is it all starting up again Monday for Mike and Thursday for Lorenzo?
Thursday for me. Oh, and hi, my sketchbook. He's a regular on I think Rick's chat.
Oh,
yeah, and I'll be
showing up in my chat.
As you know, I go Monday through Friday,
too, I think.
I'll go usually Monday through Friday on my own streams, and then depending upon who might be I come into Tism Skism, obviously, and if RJ's doing open mic night, I'll probably be over there as well. So, but yeah.
All right, man. So if you're out there watching this or watching a rerun, you can catch my bros on those shows. And until next time,
you guys can
definitely
watch. If you want to go back and watch what I've been.
Yeah, then I'll know. I'll know what you were talking. I'll know more about what you were talking about. Coming onto the live stream is usually better because you can
interact.
Yeah.
At the time, rather than trying to think back Yeah.
So when's your shows?
My shows are Monday through Friday. It would be 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
8 p.m. Central, and then 7 p.m. Mountain. So.
Yeah, mine's every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and unfortunately, I'll just have to let other people figure out the times. I mean, I know them, but it'll take me too long.
No, man, your show is getting really boosted. It's starting to get good.
I'm having a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. All right, guys. So I'm gonna go catch up with my wife before I get shot.
Yeah.
God bless you. I'll
2
talk to you
hours is
later.
a
Wait,
good time to
sorry.
end the stream, Chris. So
All right, I'll talk to you guys later, man.
all right.
Have a good night,
I'm
everybody.
killing the